Namo Namaha. This is a training video on Sanskrit terms. It's meant to be left on loop mode so that you can practice. And in future training videos, I will say even less at the beginning so that you can leave it on loop mode without the introduction. We're going to start with a couple of greetings and common words in Sanskrit. I always start with Namo Namaha. Namo Namaha means salutations in Sanskrit. It's a formal way of greeting a person or usually a group. You may also hear Namaste. Namaste is the most common way of greeting, and especially if they're from the north, you will hear Namaskar or Namashkar. So let's say it again. I'll pause after each. Namo Namaha. Namaste. Namashkar. Namo Namaha. Namaste. Namashkar. Additionally, you will hear welcome, which is swagatam. Swagatam means welcome. Usually, you don't need to add the to something, so it's just swagatam. Swagatam, spelled with a V, pronounced with a W. Swagatam. All right, the next section. These are some of the major vocabularies associated with gods and study. Brahmin, with an N at the end, is the all-encompassing universal consciousness. Similar sounding but different is Brahma, no N. The way you can keep it in your head is that Brahma is the god of creation. Brahmin, M-A-N, is the god of everything. So the longer word it encompasses more things. Okay, so Brahma is the god of creation. Vishnu is the god of sustaining or balance, okay, or maintenance of that creation. Okay, Vishnu keeps the balance. Vishnu's most famous avatar is Krishna. And an avatar is when God takes a human form in order to directly interact with the people who are either needed for rebalancing or are threatening to push things out of balance. Okay, which is why Krishna is most famously depicted in the Bhagavad Gita, which is a story about reestablishing balance. Okay. Perhaps the most famous god, the one behind me, is Shiva. Now, Shiva is the god of, yes, destruction and annihilation, but not in such a violent way. It's better to think of Shiva as the god of transformation, the one that brings about the end so that the new cycle can begin. Okay, so again, the four main gods, if you will, the universal consciousness of all things is Brahman. And then the three, which are known as the Trimurti, are Brahma, creation, Vishnu, sustaining principles or sustaining powers, and Shiva, destruction and transformation. Okay. The world that we perceive, according to Vedanta, is masked in a complex illusion known as Maya. Maya is not a magic spell that some demon is casting. Maya is the misapprehension of reality that causes us to misperceive our situation and see the unreal as real. We will get further into Maya in other videos, but basically, because our brains work within the confines of time, space, and causality, we have to structure our understanding of reality based on certain frameworks, and as a result, we don't see things fully as they are, but as we are able to perceive them with our senses. And this leads to misapprehension, and the larger version of that is called Maya. Again, we'll talk about that in a bigger video. There are three basic words I want you to learn today regarding study. A sutra is a teaching doctrine. So you might have the Brahma Sutra. right? This lovely little read is the Brahma Sutra, teaching about Brahma. So that's a teaching doctrine, okay? A Shastra is a general term for scriptures, okay, Shastras. And then finally, a Bhashya, once again with this book reference, a Bhashya is a commentary. Okay, so we've got Sutra and Bhashya right here. A Bhashya is a commentary written by somebody, hopefully who knows what they're talking about, giving their feedback on something that's been stated in the scriptures. Okay, you can think of it as Christians might have a Bible study group. Hindus have what's called a Vichara, an investigation group, so Gita Vichara group, for instance. And there you have it. I'll throw in a bonus one, a bonus word since I mentioned it twice now. Gita means song. So similar to the Gospels in Christianity, the Hindus have Gitas, and this is the song. So Bhagavad is God, so Song of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Finally, there are 4 terms I want to end the video with today, and they are more temple-based terms. The first is yagna, and that's spelled Y-A-J-N-A, but it's pronounced yagna, and that's ritual offerings and sacrifices given in the name of a specific deity or a specific ritual. Okay, the ritual offerings do not have to be expensive. Sometimes I'll caution you against red flags in certain temples, right? The Shastras, right? The scriptures say that a simple leaf offered with a good heart is worth more than gold, okay? Offered with the expectation of exchange or reward, okay? Puja are daily prayers, okay? These can often also involve small offerings, usually of things like fruit and bread and perhaps milk or some other, a glass of water at the very least. But they're daily prayers, and they're just for connecting with usually the Ishtadeva, the deity of choice, and that's puja. Japa is what you see when you see people meditating with a mala, which is a prayer necklace. I'll bring a mala to another video. But the prayer necklace in Hinduism is similar to a Catholic with a rosary, if you're familiar with that symbol. Okay, it's used to count prayers, and performing japa is usually something along the lines of either just saying Om, Om, Om over and over again, or you might have a specific deity that you wish to pray to, so you could say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya for Shiva. You could say Om Gangapate Namaha for Ganesha to remove obstacles, and so on and so forth, right? It's usually something along the lines of Om, the deity's name. Sometimes there's a Ya thrown in there for grammatical purposes, and then that's it, okay? Om Namah Shivaya, Om Na Ya Namah Shivaya, something like that, right? But it's pretty copy paste when it comes to the structure of these things. So if you have a specific God in mind, you can absolutely fit it in that way. And if you are a non-Hindu and you wanted to use, if you wanted to use Jesus or Muhammad or Zoroaster, Ahura Mazda, or, a different deity or a different prophet, saints from Christianity, that's perfectly fine too. It's the same concept, right? Really what you're doing in japa is focusing your mind on the character traits or ability that said deity metaphorically represents. So if, for instance, you want to be more compassionate today and you want to focus on compassion, you might use Kuan Yin, who in Sanskrit is Avalokiteshvara. That's very hard to say. So Kuan Yin, or Kannon in Japanese Buddhism, is the Bodhisattva of compassion. The Bodhisattva of compassion, I could argue, in Christianity could be Jesus, could be Mary, right? Mother Mary, okay, or Maria. So it depends entirely on how you wish to focus your heart when you're doing japa. Okay, so yagna is ritual sacrifice and offering. Puja, daily prayers. Japa, the repetition of a mantra or holy name, similar to doing the rosary. Finally, we've got Shraddha. Shraddha is often translated as faith, and that's fine. If you're in the more kind of bhakta tradition, devotee tradition, faith is usually faith in a god, a dualistic god. In my tradition, jnana, faith is more about conviction. My faith is like having faith in a telescope as being a good tool for observation so that I can then go and see for myself. Right? It's having just enough faith in the systems and the philosophers that went before me to believe them long enough until I've had a chance to go and try to understand on my own terms. So in this case, faith can be, or Shraddha can be faith, but it can also be a sense of conviction, or faith in yourself, faith in your own abilities to study it further. But that's our first training video, and it will be labeled as such. And the training videos in the future that cover different aspects of vocabulary, or if I create little quizzes to help you go back over it, we'll just dive right in. So I'll say, this is a training video, this is the topic, and then we're going to go straight into it without all these introductory things so that you can leave it on loop mode. I hope that helps you. And if you have any other questions or would like to know anything else about Sanskrit vocabulary, I'm far from fluent. I know the vocabulary. I'm still working on learning the grammar, for instance. But I will be happy to look into that for you and provide what I can. Thank you very much.